سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمنا وزدنا وزدنا علما Continue with our recitation and interpretation of the Qur'an. We started with the third chapter, which talks about mental tasks or the internal striving that one needs to maintain when reciting the Qur'an. And the first one we discussed yesterday was the magnification of the divine speech of the Qur'an itself. Number two, the second mental task is magnification of the speaker in the Qur'an. So the first one is magnification of the kalam of the Qur'an itself. And the second task is the magnification of the speaker. At the start of the Quranic recitation, the reciter should bring to his mind the magnification of the one who speaks, and should realize that what he is reading is not the speech of a human being, and that in the recitation of the speech of Allah there is an extreme danger, because Allah said only those who are clean can touch it. لا يمسه إلا المطهرون. Just as the external side of the leather of the Mus'haf and its pages are protected against the external skin of a person who touches it except when he is pure, both physically and ritually, so also its internal meaning is veiled by the authority of its greatness and might from the internal aspects of the reciter's mind, except when it is pure from all defilement and is illuminated by the light of magnificence and reverence. So the verse لا يمس إلا المطهرون, we know no one can touch the Mus'haf, no one can touch the Qur'an unless they are in the state of purity, unless they have wudu, they are free from all types of ritual impurity. Imam Ghazali says likewise there are internal meanings of the Qur'an, and a person will not be able to touch these internal meanings unless a person's heart is purified. Purified with what? With the wudu of magnificence and reverence. And furthermore also through the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Unless the heart is purified, unless the heart is cleared of all its vile, a person will never be able to enter the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person will never be able to understand the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just as every hand is not fit for touching the leather of the Mus'haf, so every tongue is not fit to recite its letters, nor every mind fit to understand its meanings. It is due to such magnification that Ikrimah bin Abi Jahl, when he opened the Mus'haf for reading, he used to fall down unconscious, saying, هَذَا كَلَامُ رَبِّي هَذَا كَلَامُ رَبِّي. This is the speech of my Lord. This is the speech of my Lord. The Sahabi would open up the Qur'an, and before he would even begin to start reading, he'd fall unconscious, because of the magnification in his mind of whose speech am I? The هَذَا كَلَامُ. He said, this is the word, this is the speech of my Lord. That mere bringing to mind the magnification of whose calamities was enough to make him fall unconscious. Ibn Ali Zayn al-Abidin, when he used to make wudu, his face would turn pale. He would go yellow while he was making wudu. And people would ask him, what is the matter with you? He'd say with much fear in his heart, do you not realize in front of who I am preparing myself to stand before? So before they even came to Salah, they were already in the state of magnification. And we mentioned many times before as well that the entire deen is reverence, magnification and exaltation. If you revere, magnify and exalt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will worship Him as you ought to be worshipped. If you revere the Prophet ﷺ, you will give the Prophet ﷺ his haqq. If you revere the Sharia, you will abide by the Sharia. Anything in this religion, anything connected to the deen, if you revere it, you will give it its haqq. And this is explained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. Whoever reveres the sha'air, the milestones, the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that is because of the taqwa, the piety in their heart. So we find people revere the Kaaba. Do we revere the Kaaba because it is the Kaaba? It is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed importance to that, so we revere it. And this is where the concept of giving كل ذي حق حقه, giving each and every single person and each and every single thing its due right. So when we revere the ulama as well, it is not only because they are ulama, but Allah says, أَلَا إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. It is only the ulama who truly are the ones that fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of their knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we revere the awliya, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَلَا إِنَّ أَوْلِيَاءَ اللَّهِ لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. When we revere our parents, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Allah placed the obedience of parents next to His tawheed and unification. When we show mercy to children, it's because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, whoever does not respect our elders and show mercy to our young, then they are not from amongst us. So when we give due reference and reveration to the Qur'an and to the Sunnah, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, a person then doesn't differentiate between, oh, this is important and that's not important, or this is a big Sunnah and this is a small Sunnah, or this is fard, but this is only nothing. A person who wants to differentiate and says, oh, but there are more, this is more, why are people paying more attention to this and they ought to be paying attention to that? Worry about your own reverence of the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people say, oh, this is only a small sin. They say no sin is small in relation to whom you are sinning against. A major sin and a minor sin, if you regard it as who are you sinning against, it's equal. The minor sin, you're also sinning against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so this paradigm shifting, that everything that we are doing, we are dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you speak to your spouse or to your children, if you have it in mind that you are dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're not dealing with the person in front of you, because who moves them? Many of the Ibrahim bin Adham, the famous saint, when he was walking into the town, and he asked, the soldier asked him, or the soldier walked into the town and asked him, where are the inhabitants? Where is this? The hadara means the civilization. Where are the people? So he pointed to the maqbara, pointed to the grave. He's trying to tell him that that's your ultimate, that's where life is. So this person got upset and soldier got upset and started to beat him. And as he's beating him, what is he saying? He says, continue to hit this head which disobeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The soldier dragged him into the town. As the soldier is dragging him into the town, the people come. And do you know this is Ibrahim bin Adham, the famous sheikh and the famous saint, whatever. And the soldier then becomes extremely shy and upset, and he says, I'm sorry, I didn't know, and he seeks forgiveness. He said, you had not raised your hand to hit me a second time, except that I had forgiven you for the first time that you had hit me. What was he doing in all of it? He wasn't dealing with the soldier, he was dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise, when we come to the Qur'an, we have this in mind, that we are dealing with the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thus, the magnification of the speech is in effect the magnification of the speaker. Magnification of the speaker will never come to the mind of the Qur'an reciter unless he reflects on his attributes, Allah's attributes, His majesty and His works. Thus, when the idea of the throne of Allah, of the heavens and the earth, and all of that is in between these two, such as jinn, man, and other moving creatures, trees, and the like come to his mind, he knows with certainty that the creator of all these, who has power over them and who sustains them, is the one who has no partner, and that all being within the grip of his power move between his bounty and mercy and between his revenge and assault. Everything in this universe is a manifestation of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single thing in this universe, at every single point in time, is under one of the manifestations of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some are under His mercy, some are under His punishment. Some are being given life, and some are being given death. Allah is pleased with some and Allah is angry with others. If He bestows favor upon them, this is through His bounty, and if He punishes them, this is by His justice. لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. Allah is not questioned as to what He does, but we are the ones who will be questioned. And keeping in mind also that Allah is the one who says, these people. So this is a hadith, of hadith al-Qudsi of the Prophet ﷺ. Once the Prophet ﷺ spoke to the Sahaba to explain the purpose of creation. Allah created creation, and then He said, هَؤُلَاءِ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ وَلَا أُبَالِي وَهَؤُلَاءِ إِلَى النَّارِ وَلَا أُبَالِي. That these people will go to paradise, and the translated is, I do not hesitate to do this. But a more closer translation say, when Allah created creation, He ordained certain people to go to heaven, and He ordained certain people to go to hell. He said, هَؤُلَاءِ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. These will go to Jannah, and I don't care. And these these will go to hell, and I don't care. It's his choice. It's Allah's kingdom. And if we realize that we are, as you said in the first lesson, the realization that we are slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we have no right to question. Allah causes a baby to undergo suffering. Can we say that is oppression? Allah allows a person to undergo suffering and sickness and difficulties in his life, and another person is given a nice and easy life. Can we say Allah has oppressed this person? Can we say that? Why can't we say that? Because everything belongs to Allah. The definition of oppression is for someone to exert control or power or influence over something which is not their property. So when you take someone else's property, you have oppressed them. But everything in the heavens and the earth belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's impossible for oppression to exist from the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He created the creation and He can do with them as He wishes. He can send a person who has obeyed Him to hell, and He can send someone who's disobeyed Him to Jannah. Is there anyone that can question His authority? No one can question His authority. But then obviously Allah has put the laws and His promises that those who obey, believe and worship Him, He will send them to heaven, and those who do the opposite will go to hell. This hadith which we had just mentioned is the end of the magnification and elevation, and the reflection on these and other similar things will bring to mind of the Qur'an reader the magnification of the speaker first, and then the magnification of the speech. Some of the pious as well, when they would hear the adhan, they would automatically stop whatever they were doing. They would sit on their knees and bow their heads. Say, this is the call of mine. I am being called to the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they would stop whatever they were doing. They would sit in the tashahhud position. Some of them would even stand up. It's called jathiyah in Arabic. When you're on your knees, but you're actually upright. You're not in tashahhud, you're in tashahhud, but you lift yourself up and they would bow their heads. They're being called to whose court? Being called to the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more we magnify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a mental task. When you're reading the Qur'an, we can read Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. A person can read the Qur'an thinking Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and he can repeat, go through every word, trying to connect with each and every single letter, trying to connect with every verse that you're reading, that there's something in here I'm supposed to be connecting to. There's something in these words that ought to be doing something to me. There's something in the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that should be changing my heart. Allah mentions in the Quran, تَقْشَعِرُ مِنْهُ جُلُودُ الَّذِينَ يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُم. Those who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when they recite His verses, their hair stands on end. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِّرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. Those true believers are only those who, when the name of Allah is mentioned, their hearts tremble. وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. And when their verses are recited, when His verses are recited to them, they increase in their iman. When we recite the Quran, and when we hear the Quran being recited, do we feel something in our hearts? This looking and searching for that feeling is trying them to connect. The third mental task is to pay attention and abandon the inner utterances of the soul, the whisperings of the soul. In the explanation of the verse, Ya Yahya khudh al-kitab bi-quwwa, the meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Yahya alayhi salam, Ya Yahya, hold fast onto the book. It is said that hold fast means to read with serious endeavor and diligence. Holding the book with serious endeavor consists in one being isolated with it when reading it, meaning we should read the Quran in private when we are not distracted, and turning all of one's attention to it and away from all other things. Coming to the Quran in private, giving it your utmost intention, giving it everything of yours. In today's times, that would mean you put the radio off, turn your phone down, turn your phone off, you go somewhere where you know you will not be distracted at all. A certain Noah of Allah was asked, when you read the Quran, does your soul make inner utterances concerning any matter? Are you distracted? Do whisperings of shaitan pass through your mind? Are your thoughts wavering when you recite the Quran? He replied, is there anything preferable to the Quran so that my soul may make any utterances concerning it? I don't have anything else in my heart besides the Quran. How can anything come to my heart? And if you want to know where your heart lies, Go read Salah, go read the Qur'an. And you'll see how what is most important to you then comes to your heart. When you're in Salah, what are the things that come to your mind? When you're reading Qur'an, what are the things that come to your mind? When you're doing the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what are the things that come to your mind? And what is very important about this is that or those thoughts are who you are. Some of the scholars say that when we are asked the question in our grave, who is your Lord and what is your deen and who was this person that sent you, it will not be your tongue that replies, but it will be your heart that replies. And at the end of your life, when the angel of death is coming and Shaitan is trying to delude you in those final moments, to make you not recite the Shahada, whatever is in your heart will come to the fore. And sometimes if a person ever had an experience, a near-death experience as they call it, or an unfortunate experience where they went through a certain calamity or accident or something, they'll tell you, my life flashed before my eyes. What does it mean? What was in their heart came to their mind. And if you've been through any experience like that, you need to ask yourself, what were those things that came to my mind at that point in time? And those are the things our hearts are attached to. And this shows us the importance of spending time alone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to mold the heart on the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and mold the heart on the love of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to sit in private and read the salawat and the durood and read the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so this heart can start becoming attached to Allah and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The avenues to the heart are what you hear, what you see, what you speak about, and what you think about. And if these avenues are constantly being filled with things, ephemeral things, the material world, so and so, and what someone else is doing, our life is being constantly, and our heart is being bombarded with everything else besides Allah and the Prophet ﷺ. So it's no wonder then we can't contain, or we can't have concentration in our salah when we're doing dhikr. And so this is a mujahada. And the technology that is coming to our lives, unfortunately, it's such a catastrophe, but because everyone is doing it, we don't even realize. We don't realize the extent to which we are addicted to these devices. And unfortunately, because everyone is doing it, it's become like, oh, okay, it's fine. But it's an absolute catastrophe. If we have to look at how and what are the requirements of being present with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Salah and in Qur'an, it will require us to throw all our technological devices away. Obviously, we don't expect people to do that, but a person must have discipline in their life. When it's time for Allah, give time to Allah. And then you can give time to the creation in your work when it's time for that. But when it's time for Salah, give that time to Allah, give your heart. And Allah doesn't want 24 hours of your day. Allah wants just those 5 minutes when you're reading your Salah, those 10 minutes when you're reading your Qur'an. But when you're doing that, come to Allah completely. And many times we come half-heartedly because we think, oh, you know what, I'm not doing what I'd like to do, I'm on a bad vibe, and perhaps one day when I'm completely free, then I'll worship properly. When I'm free, I'll read Qur'an properly. No. If you've come to Allah, I say, whoever comes to me walking, I come to him. Right? You can be the biggest sinner. When it's time for Salah, in your mind, magnify, say, this Salah, just at least if I can do this Salah properly and correctly, there's one good thing I've done in my life. And you don't know that one Salah Allah can change your life. When it's time for Qur'an, put everything away. A person can be the worst sinner in the world. Give that time to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They say, Siru ilallahi urjan wa makasir. Travel towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala broken and crippled. And do not wait for good health. فإن انتظار الصحة بطالة ولا تنتظر الصحة فإن انتظار الصحة بطالة. Do not wait for everything to be perfect in your life, because this is a form of procrastination. The time is not going to come when you are perfect to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Till the day we die, we are going to be imperfect. But come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala broken, with all your faults, with all your sins, in our brokenness, in our crippledness. If we can imagine our souls as being a broken man with a cast here and a bandage there and whatever it is, our hearts being this sick human being, right? We have to present that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can't wait. If we come to Allah thinking, I'm going to wait for myself to be perfect until my character is all right and I'm doing everything correctly, it's meaning you're depending on yourself. And there's a sense of pride and arrogance to say, now I am ready to come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are nothing. We have to go to Allah with our brokenness and ask Allah to fix us picks us up. A certain righteous father, if he read a verse without giving the full attention to his mind, he used to recite it a second time. This attribute, the attention of the mind to the verses recited, is generated from the preceding attribute, which is magnification of the speaker. Because a person who magnifies the speech of Allah which he is reciting draws a good omen from it, has warm relations with it, and is not inattentive to it. So if you magnify the speaker, then you will pay attention to the words of what is being spoken. In the Qur'an, it is present that with which the soul can have warm relations if the reciter is fit for it. How can it seek an intimate connection with the thought of anything other than the Qur'an, seeing that the reciter is in a pleasant place and a place relieved of cares, and one who is relieved of cares is in a pleasant place, does not think of any other place. When you are with Allah, and we should always imagine when we are in our Salah and our dhikr and reading the Qur'an, okay, and Shaitan is whispering to you that you have to do this, you have to do that. Remind yourself that right now I am doing the thing for which I was created. And there's no other place better for me to be than what I'm doing. And the shaitan comes and says, just read Surah Ikhlas. So you tell your nafs, no, I'm going to read Surah Yasin. Some of the pious would do this as well. They'd be sitting to do dhikr, they'll say, come to do 100, La ilaha illallah. And then shaitan comes and says, just 10, 15, only 20. So they take an oath, by Allah, I will do 1,000. And he said he needs to do 1,000 because of his oath. Obviously, you shouldn't take oaths, but you have to have a battle plan against shaitan. Shaitan's army against you, or his ruses against you, are tricks of the mind. He tricks you. What tricks do you have to counter-trick him? It's espionage. This is what the path to Allah SWT is about. Shaitan's waiting on, he's waiting on the path for you. Plan. If you're traveling from here to a certain place and you know there's an enemy on the road, you just go and say, oh, you know what, perhaps he must, he's got all the armory and all that, he's got the best weapons. Do you go unprepared or do you prepare? You have to prepare. And each and every single one of us know how shaitan laughs at us. I know that, when I read Salah at home, I don't read my sunnahs. I know when I read Salah on my own, not in Jama'ah, this is something where, and then I get lazy, I read at the last portion. Fight shaitan, go to the masjid. When you wake up in the morning, you should have your own battle plan. How am I going to fight shaitan today? How am I going to fight my nafs today? Every day he's defeating you, and every day, day after day he's defeating you, and he laughs at you, and you get up the next day and he comes and it's like if in a boxing match, he's winning all the rounds. We have to get some rounds against him as well. It is said that in the Qur'an are to be found fields, gardens, closets, brides, brocades, meadows, and treasures. All the memes are the fields of the Qur'an. All the raws are the gardens. All the has are its closets. All surahs starting with the glorification of Allah are its brides. All surahs starting with the letter Hamim are its brocades. All the surahs in which laws and stories are expounded are its meadows. And all other parts of it are its treasures. When the Qur'an really enters into the fields of the Qur'an, he plucks different types of fruits from its gardens, enters into its closets, views its brides, wears the brocades, is relieved of cares, and dwells in the treasures. Then all these absorb him wholly and keep him from other things, from things other than these. Consequently, his mind cannot be inattentive, nor can his thought be separated. And so it goes to show that when we read the Qur'an as well, we should bring to our minds that this is something. There is nothing better. The Prophet ﷺ, once the Sahaba came, the Prophet ﷺ finished the Salah and he went out and he saw a bit of a commotion happening, and a certain Sahaba had lost his camel. So he became extremely perturbed and he was running and trying to look for it and telling the Sahaba. So people gathered around him and the Prophet ﷺ came and asked, what happened? And they said he lost his camel. The Prophet said, oh, I thought he missed the takbir of the ihram. I thought he missed the first takbir of the salah. Another Sahaba once came to the Prophet ﷺ and was boasting. He says, today, no one made a bigger profit than I have in the market today. He made some 600 or I don't know how many, 1,000 dinars. The Prophet ﷺ told him, the 2 raka'at of Fajr, or he said someone else has made a better prophet than you. So he asked the Prophet, who could have made a better prophet than me? No one has ever made a better prophet in the marketplace than me. The Prophet told him, the one who read the 2 raka'at of the Sunnah of Fajr, that is more better than the entire world and whatever it contains. People are talking about the richest person in the world and who's got the highest assets, and this one, they even got it on what? The Forbes number 1 and this and whatever it is. Go to 2 rak'ats of your Fajr Salah, the Sunnah of the Fajr Salah, and you are richer than all of these people. We have to realign our priorities, and that can only come by magnifying what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself magnified, what the Prophet magnified. We ask Allah Qur'an tawfiq wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alamin subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk wa natubu ilayk. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.